Been having a bit of a rough week these last few days. Got sick, my finger had some weird infection and got swollen, and it's been taken care of now, but it's still kind of sore. I've had some on and off headaches and trouble sleeping, but with all that, we've also gotten some banger chapters lately, so I've been happy about that. This video should be on the shorter side, I don't know if it will be, but talking about the new JJK chapter, and there probably won't be much editing since, like I said, my index finger is still sore as hell and hurts, but I still want to talk to you guys. So yeah. Anyway, this was both a chapter. For the first half, you know what I mean when it's like, yeah, that was certainly a thing that happened in Jujutsu Kaisen. But the end of the chapter, after the first 4 pages or so, were pretty good. So I won't talk too much about the start. I'm still processing that information, and I'm on the cope train because I was Team Kenjaku, and I don't mind the guy dying. But I do think it was kind of silly for him to die in this way. Even him dying to Yuta is perfectly fine to me, but I think we should see him go out with a little more of a beating, so I hope he is somehow still alive after all that. After all, he is the one who taught Sukuna how to split up his soul or whatever, so maybe this is all just a Kenjaku joke, and he's actually still alive somewhere biding his time. I did have a theory back a while ago after Sukuna was beaten that it would be revealed that Kenny secretly had the last finger all along, and we'll get this scene of him limping and crawling and scratching and clawing towards Yuji or just someone to try and force feed them Sukuna's last finger in hopes that he'll be able to come back one last time and save Kenny. And in my head, it would go similar to the way Mahito went out, like a little, Anyway, if this is truly Kenjaku's end, then I need a little more time to process it. I won't like this ending, but it's whatever. On to the actual baller stuff from the chapter. We finally got to see Yuta's domain expansion, but before that, we get to see Yuta thinking about how he could have done things a little differently, and I'll have some words for some of that later. But this fight so far is really cool. Sukuna has had to fight 2 combatants at once before, but watching him fight Yuta and Rika somehow feels more like watching a fight versus the Ice Climbers in Smash Bros. Like they're 2 different entities but the same fighter. In a JJK fighting game, you probably wouldn't be able to just choose Rika. You'd pick Yuta and you'd get Rika too, like as a pet or backup character or whatever. The stuff where Yuta talks about Sukuna's cursed energy output returning is interesting because even though I didn't mention it in the video so far, I did have an idea before that Sukuna was actually unsure if his domain would even work. It's been like 20 chapters since he used Malevolent Shrine, and we never got confirmation that his brain was actually fully healed when he fully incarnated versus Kashimo, and I doubt Sukuna has ever, 1, been in a situation where he had used his domain so many times his brain started leaking, and 2, I don't think he's ever had that happen and immediately fully restore through incarnation. So while that's something us readers probably already knew, I imagine in the back of Sukuna's mind he was probably worried about blowing his own brains to pieces since he doesn't have a way to look at his brain the same way we would when we open up a PC. I guess in the meantime he's just been focusing on getting his cursed energy output up to normal levels like Yuta said, but it would be hilarious if he was fully finished off in the end by thinking he's got the upper hand. He's got that dirty smile on his face saying the words domain expansion and then his head kind of just pop it off. Anyway, I think that kind of confirms that at least my idea was something kind of sort of being considered. That scene where Rika jumps in front of Sukuna and Yuta stabs through her was raw as hell, but I think that would probably kill her, or I thought it would probably kill her. I guess not, but it was dope, and Sukuna being able to create little tiny chainsaw slashes around his body is interesting. Doing it in your hand like that could get, let's say, interesting at 3 a.m., but I'm not going to judge the forearm guy. We see what happened to the last guy who judged him. Yuta lands a solid blow on the big guy, and his belly mouth lets out a ugh in agony, and they do a little bit of tussling. Throughout all of this, Sukuna never loses his smile, and that's kind of what makes me laugh and feel all warm inside. We finally get to see Yuta's domain expansion, and I think both the official and the unofficial names are fine. His domain basically changes the entire battleground to this graveyard of swords and allows him unlimited use of his copied techniques. I got spoiled on this, by the way, because everyone was saying unlimited blade works, and spoilers were flying around Tuesday or Wednesday, and that's kind of lame. And I see that leakers got packed up, or at least mostly packed up, hopefully. Thank God I can finally use Twitter after Tuesday for 4 days, so that was nice. Long rest to their souls or whatever. Put them in jail, put them under the jail, let them go. Anyway, where was I? His domain changes the battlefield to give him unlimited use of copy techniques. And so we say unlimited, but I think there is kind of a limit, and it's probably just due to how many swords there are. I think the way it works is that he can use a sword once, we see it disappear or whatever, so we know that that's the case, but a little more deep diving into that technique. You know, he can use the technique as many times as he has swords. It'll probably be debunked next week, but what I mean is that we see him use Uro's technique, and he probably has, let's say, 200 techniques copied. He could use all 200 once if he wanted to, or he could use Uro's 50 times if he pleases, but that would just mean he has only 150 uses left within the domain to spend on whatever other copied techniques he has. Just in case what I said doesn't really make any sense to you at first listen, you know, imagine you go to a cookie store and I'm like, I'll buy you 10 cookies and you can choose, you know, whatever you want. There's 30 flavors and you choose 9 chocolate chip. That's on you, but that means you just get to taste one other flavor from this selection of like 30 cookies and, you know, have at it. That's your world. Anyway, I think Sukuna, not Sukuna, but I think that's how the domain works. So he can use it, you know, on as many techniques as he wants, but it removes from his mass pool or collection of cursed techniques. So he can't really use them infinitely, but he can use, you know, Uro's technique 200 times, or he can use cursed speech on a sword 200 times or whatever, you know, whatever. Anyway, cool guy Sukuna counters this with Hollow Wicker Basket, and it's nice to see him using a simple domain. I'm pretty sure he hasn't used one so far. I can't really remember, but yeah, pretty sure he never used one against Gojo. I don't think Yuta is going to be able to finish him off, obviously, even though he says he wants to. Yuta isn't going to go like 10-0 in this manga, man. It just can't happen. Especially not both the final villains of the series. He's got to get an L somewhere. This will likely be it. But what's interesting is that Sukuna confirms to us that he's still afraid of Angel's technique and realizes that they're just trying to corner him by forcing him to use 2 of his other hands and his extra mouth to hold up the Hollow Wicker Basket, thus making the pincher attack from Yuta, Yuji, and I guess Rika too very effective. And he even confirms to us that Yuji's fists now deal soul damage. It's something that, you know, people have been really wanting to know because we never really got any kind of confirmation. There's been a lot of theory videos. I even made one. You can check it out later or whatever. But I'm guessing the way Yuji's fists now with this information is that his fists and soul stuff works is that there's a soul damage health bar that kind of has to reach a certain point before they can separate the soul. Angel's attack would probably do that instantly, but Sukuna points out that everyone has a role and he seems to have it all figured out, even though he is clearly in a position that appears to be at a disadvantage. But this is where I say he miscalculated. If I haven't changed the title of this video already, because, you know, videos don't be popping off and sometimes you got to change the title. But I think I'll have something about him miscalculating in the title. So not only are there other characters like Kusakabe, Choso, and Ino outside the domain, but I can't quite remember if it was ever stated if people inside the domain can't really tell what's going on outside. I think it's kind of common sense, and I'm pretty sure it was stated during the Mahito fight with Nanami and Yuji. But we see Yuji enter, and I wonder if Yuji can use Yuta's swords, but that's kind of besides the point that I'm getting at. In my last video about Sukuna using the fire arrow, I made a fumble and said Maki might sneak up on Sukuna during Malevolent Shrine, and I forgot that she would still get diced up in that situation because she would be seen as environment. And Yuta confirms that Maki didn't go to the Kenjaku situation, so that means she's part of the Sukuna strike team. Like I said before in the previous video, Maki says she has a plan for how to get Megami free, or maybe it was Yuta. It might have been Yuta actually, but one of the 3 of those idiots say they have a plan for how to get Megami free from Sukuna, and they all kind of agree. And Maki, you know, she says they talked about it off screen, but they mentioned needing to get him to a position where he's unable to fight. And this is kind of the perfect situation. He's got Hollow Wicker Basket up. He can't really fight the way he wants to. He's in a domain. He probably can't use his domain. Sukuna knows Maki is strong, but he's never seen her use the Soul Split Katana and likely doesn't know it's in their arsenal. He clearly knows that Yuji is capable of landing soul blows and knows that Angel's technique is in the Duffy too, so he'll be on the lookout for those. But Maki is basically invisible here and can possibly sneak up on him in Yuta's domain and deliver that big soul damaging blow, which is why I said Sukuna miscalculated. He's thinking he's currently in a 2v1 situation with Yuji and Yuta possibly having soul damaging abilities, and that everyone else outside is fodder, but he isn't expecting a third assassin to pull up and also have the ability to sever the soul. You can tell by how confident he is, even knowing about Yuji and being inside Yuta's domain, that he thinks he's fine, and the narrator hasn't spoken up once, and it feels like we were getting being that the whole time he was fighting Gojo, I think in the next few chapters we're going to get another one of those. For the first time in 1,000 years, Sukuna could feel his defeat coming, bubbles, once he's surrounded on all sides with various characters having the ability to push him out of the body or whatever. I think there's more to Yuji also than the Soul Fist too. I'm still team blood manipulation, but yeah, I think Sukuna is going to get cooked soonish, but not before tossing a few more characters like Yuta to the dumpster. Sorry, Yuta fans. I don't know, man. I'm not a Yuta hater, but this is like, is this dude really going to get a perfect record? The merger thing is kind of weird now too, because Sukuna doesn't give a damn about that merger, and I can't really see him on his dying breath starting the merger, because this whole thing was strength and having a good fight and all that. So I can't really see him going, F you guys, you know, fight this monster. We'll see when we get there, but if Kenjaku really is dead, then I think JJK is definitely trying to wrap this manga up pretty soon, like June or July. Anyway, thanks for watching. Didn't realize how much I typed. I guess I kind of waffled here for a bit, but thanks for watching. Hit the like and subscribe if you aren't already, and I got some more videos planned for the future. Let me know below, you know, what your thoughts are or whatever, and I'll see you guys next time.